No president may treat a national promise as his own private paper to cancel. When one leader calls NATO a paper tiger and says he could end it by himself, something in the people's ear goes still. 32 nations built that pledge after the ashes of war. Can a single voice tear that page from history and call the act strength? Picture the flags outside NATO headquarters in Brussels, the blue field and white compass turning in the breeze above names etched in remembrance of 1949. Beneath those flags, American soldiers still serve. Yet far away in Washington, words are spoken that make allies wonder if the oath has hollowed. The strange part is not only the threat, they have heard that before, but the claim of power alone. By law passed in the 2024 Defense Act, no president may withdraw from that treaty without Congress. The section stands there in black print, 22 U.S.C. 1928F, plain as the marble pillars of the Capitol. It forbids spending even $1 for such purpose unless Congress or 2/3 of the Senate agrees. Still, the question rises. Can a man bound by oath to uphold the law claim the power to unmake it? Think of the Senate chamber where that clause was born, 84 votes cast beneath the gilded ceiling after months of debate. Some feared too strong an executive, others feared too weak an alliance. Yet they agreed to bind both by procedure. That act was not mistrust of a person, it was trust in the system that guards the future from the temper of the moment. The Constitution gives the nation the power to make treaties through the President and Senate together. Nowhere does it say how to end them. Silence is its battleground. One side hears that silence as license for executive will, the other hears it as warning for shared consent. And here the stakes rise beyond one alliance or one administration. When consent, once solemnly given, can be undone without renewed voice, the people themselves lose their seat at the table. Was this the power the framers meant a president to wield? Picture again the Oval Office, late-night light on the resolute desk. The president reads intelligence briefs and cables from weary allies. Urgency presses, yet law demands patience. Energy in the executive was meant to serve the law, not outrun it. Our founders saw that liberty demands both action and restraint, swift hands bound by steady principle. They made the Senate's advice a curb against pride, and Congress's purse a bolt against adventure. When President Carter tried to end the Taiwan Treaty in 1979, members of Congress sued. The Supreme Court stayed silent, calling it a political question. But even in silence, the danger glimmered. If one branch retreats, the other swells. We learned the same in 1952 when President Truman seized steel mills without congressional consent. The court said then that power is at its lowest ebb when it defies Congress. That phrase is worth more than parchment. It is guardrail against the cliff. Imagine the marble steps of the Supreme Court on First Street NE, the words, "Equal justice under law, catching dawn." Inside, clerks carry briefs written in careful type about who speaks for the Republic abroad. The building itself is answer enough. Not one man, but divided powers joined in one purpose, to keep liberty safe from haste. Now think of a more quiet place. The records room of the National Archives, where the 1949 treaty lies sealed. Next to Washington's farewell address warning against permanent alliance rests the proof that later generations found safety in shared defense. These documents are not contradictory. They show growth. A republic must choose its friendships by reason, not fear, and keep them by integrity, not impulse. They are lessons written in blood and ratified by faith. How many times has history tested this balance before? In 1794, under the Jay Treaty with Britain, fierce dispute broke out over who controlled foreign commitments. Federalists urged ratification. Jeffersonians warned of monarchy in disguise. Yet even their thunder ended in peaceful decision through Senate vote, proof that debate within bounds strengthens the Union. During the Civil War, foreign ministers watched to see whether our divided house could still speak with one voice. We did, not because one man commanded silence, but because institutions endured. Picture Union Square in New York, 1863, when news of the draft riots filled the air. Citizens divided, yet law returned order. Power checked itself so the Republic might stand. That same principle now shimmers beneath these modern quarrels. We may differ on spending or strategy, but we dare not differ on who owns the nation's word. A treaty signed by vote is the people's contract. To break it alone is not boldness, it is breach. Still, some argue that fast threats require fast hands. They say, what if Congress delays while danger's near? It is fair worry. But urgency was meant to serve duty, not replace it. The founders feared that fear itself would become our master. They built delay into the system so that no man could mistake impulse for command. Swift hands, yes, but under the eye of law. Even George Washington, soldier though he was, sent every treaty to the Senate and waited for its advice. He knew that shared responsibility keeps power clean. Picture a cold night on the steps of the Capitol dome after a foreign strike somewhere far from home. Lawmakers gather under lights still burning past midnight, reading reports, weighing response. The weight is heavy, but the choice is joint. No single temper decides when to risk the sons and daughters of a nation. The moment reminds us that democracy may be slow, yet its slowness saves it from folly. Those who whisper that cooperation is weakness forget that unity once held the whole world from war. When General Eisenhower stood before the first NATO Council in Paris, he said, "An alliance is a faith you prove by keeping it." Faith is never fast, but it keeps the night at bay. And faith, once broken, cannot be repaired by decree. The 2024 law does more than tie the president's hand. It tests the citizen's memory. Will we still remember why the power to end a promise must rest where the promise began? Look again to that Senate vote. 84 voices, not all from one party, standing guard over one word: commitment. In their vote, the nation said, no alliance without deliberation, no rupture without consent. That is not defiance of strength, it is its proper measure. Imagine the Pentagon corridors, maps of Europe glowing on screens behind Defense Department seals. Officers trace supply routes that depend on every signature under that treaty. They are not pondering politics, they are serving trust. Each line on those maps is a pledge between free peoples. Erase one link, and the chain of safety rattles across continents. Every generation stands where temptation meets restraint. One hand wishes to act, another reminds it to ask. That friction is not weakness, it is civilization. For tyranny is not always loud. Sometimes it begins with a soft claim of freedom for one that becomes danger for all. Think of Independence Hall, still echoing after centuries. Those walls saw men argue not for speed, but for consent. Hamilton urged vigor in the executive. Madison demanded balance. They left the argument alive inside the design, trusting that citizens unborn would keep it honest. We stand as heirs of that argument, not prisoners of it. Our task is to keep debate civil and law supreme. Picture the quiet courtyard at Ramstein Air Base in Germany, a guard lowering the American flag beside 21 others at dusk. Each flag returns salute for sacrifice shared. Their unity is not decorative, it is daily safety. To call that a paper tiger is to forget the weight of those who fell believing its promise meant something. The lawful way forward is plain: obedience first, discussion after. If Congress and the President must yet refine how treaties end, let them do so by reason, not by noise. The law may be amended, it must never be ignored. That is how a nation keeps its honor longer than any administration. America's strength is her unity. So let the debates rage, but under roof of order. Let each branch know its boundary and its purpose. Let citizens watch not for who shouts loudest, but for who stays within the law when silence would be easier. The Republic breathes through such restraint, not through decree. And when the moment comes, when passion again tempts power to act alone, remember the lesson written from Brussels to the Potomac. Cooperation is not surrender, and patience is not weakness. They are the posture of a free people building endurance enough to outlast every storm. When that test arrives at your door, whether in war, in vote, or in simple argument, will you still hold the line between impulse and duty,